What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Odds Are podcast. I am your co-host and semi-professional bettor, Chris. We got Gabe. What's going on, Gabe?
Just chilling, man. Getting ready for the playoffs. That's how you basically placed a bet for every game already. I'm trying to
Yes,
get
sir.
I'm trying to get there. But I'm excited, man. I did make my recap just looking back after the futures got paid out yesterday, and man, we killed that futures podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
we were good. We were really good. Um,
um, swept the NFC North with our predictions.
yeah, I should have tailed you on the order. That was a nice bet where you took Packers to finish third.
Yeah, and then I did a two-uniter on the Bears to be fourth.
I don't understand how that was even a question,
I
but
know.
yeah.
Because I remember looking back and like that win total was like six or whatever. And I think my projection was one win.
Yeah, you weren't too wrong.
Yeah.
I yeah, so I finished up. I'm up 27 units on futures with an 86% ROI.
Damn.
Yeah, so not bad. I finished the regular season NFL up 105 units. Could have been a little bit better at the end. I don't know if you saw, but I had a seven-way teaser yesterday that missed by one leg, and it was the Browns.
Damn.
Uh,
Yeah.
it was basically
Browns.
that last meaningless touchdown that they scored. Missed a 22 unit payout. So I'm gonna be calling everybody over there in Pittsburgh and Cleveland asking for my money back.
Um, yeah, that burned me too. But I was surprised because I had some bad weeks in the NFL after the start of the season, but I still finished against the spread up 6 units, despite having, I don't know, tons of action every week. But futures
Yeah,
up 12 units there, which um, yeah, it turned out nice. I think the one thing I saw was the one future we went head to head AFC North. You got that dub there.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, if you would have asked me even at like week 10 of the season, I probably would have said that I think you were gonna win that one just because
Because I
like
think the Ravens were favorite from like week 2 to like 8 or whatever. Because there was
yeah,
that prime time win, but Lamar Jackson declared early free agency or something. I don't know
yeah,
what he did.
yeah, yeah. He's hanging out, just relaxing for the next year.
I saw their quarterback is like Antonio Brown or whatever.
Anthony Brown.
Anthony Brown.
AB. He's back.
Oh man, where
Yeah,
does Harbaugh find these guys?
I don't know, man. He
Yeah.
must know somebody because they all profile like the same.
Yeah.
They're all just like 6'2", pretty good at running, black. uh, yeah, I don't know where he gets them, but they grooming him out there. Yeah, yesterday was a little disappointing. I was on the verge of a great day. I was one leg away from like hitting a bunch of long parlays. We both had that Rams Lions money line underdog parlay. That was a little
Yeah.
frustrating. Obviously, the Rams just choked that game away. um, Baker was doing Baker Mayfield things in OT, which is to be expected.
Mhm.
I did hedge a little bit. I took Seattle as 3.5 point underdogs live, which helped me kind of make some profit on that. And then, like I said, that seven-way teaser that would have been a 22 unit payout. The only leg that missed was Cleveland, so a little frustrating, but still up 0.26 units on the day. And like I said, can't be too mad when you finish the NFL season up 105 units. So, uh,
Yeah.
yes, sir. So yeah, we're cruising now, cruising into the NCAA championship game today. So that'll be a barn burner between TCU and Georgia. Do you want to talk about that just real quick? I saw you put in some stuff.
Yeah, I just sprinkled. Well, I put more on Georgia. I just made it a two-uniter, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit for fun, but I am pretty confident that Georgia will win this game. Um, I don't really have a fear of like TCU putting up points early too. Like, I'd be very shocked if it's like the Michigan game where it's like TCU 7-zip and I'm able to get Georgia at a better number. Like, I think this is the number, and I'm okay with riding with this. First half probably not going to play. Just because we're not able to get at the -7 anymore, it's 7.5. So going to leave it there. Um, but I also tailed you with that the big favorite NFL parlay too, that three-way with Buffalo, Niners, and Georgia. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I love the Niners,
Really?
especially at that number. I just think it's like an incredibly inflated number. And like
Yeah.
we'll get to that game later. But yeah, I like Georgia tonight. I had some props too, some sprinkles on some first touchdowns. I added TCU because those are the bigger numbers when you have such a big dog there. But I mean there is a chance that they score the first touchdown, but if that happens, then I'll just gladly add more of Georgia.
Yeah.
But I think the main play first touchdown to Kenny McIntosh, the Georgia running back, took McConkey over on his receiving yards. I think you've seen like in his big games, he typically gets around like these 50, 60, closer to that. And his lines right now is at 40 just because he didn't really show up in the Ohio State game. And I think he did get hurt. It didn't really play much of the fourth quarter.
Mm.
But I like that play. And then I saw someone give out this play on, I don't know who this guy is on TCU, but one of their deep threat receivers take this under just because like Georgia's defense is probably going to try to keep everything in front of them. So you're going to see like TCU's receivers probably have more or less like big plays, less yards per reception. So I think honestly, just I'm also fading like TCU's offense here. So I think I like that under 84.5.
Yeah.
For
That's a big
Johnston on
number.
TCU.
That's a big number. And
Yeah.
with these huge like title games when you have lots of action coming in and people betting props, like obviously the over or the totals, sorry, the props are going to be inflated.
Yeah.
Which is why I just tailed you on the McConkey bet because I have his game log pulled up and I was looking at it and I'm like, there's only been 2 games where he hasn't cleared this number. And one of them was last game. And so like
Mhm.
that's probably factoring in major. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Just had a, quick question about dinner tonight. So gotta get the priorities right,
Yeah, hear it.
But yeah, I think I was just saying that props are overinflated. I went ahead and told you on this, so I like that. I kind of want to get in on some of the Georgia first any or probably first touchdown score. But I also like anytime. And I'm also trying to figure out these rushing yard props because I think there's a couple in here that I like. Um, like I just think they're like if we think this game goes accordingly, right? Like Georgia's gonna jump out ahead and take control and probably just lead. So then you'd like to think that some of these UGA backs are gonna get going. Um,
Yeah. I mean, Kenny McIntosh he is like the main he's not a bell cow running back by any means, but he is the lead back here. But I guess my main concern is really like Georgia's rushing game just it's good. It's not elite though. Their passing game is what's elite, and that's probably the biggest mismatch in this game.
yeah.
But I
So
think we've seen Georgia in big games too. Like they're up 20 zip. The other team's offense has no life, and they'll just say it's time to kill clock, and they'll pound the ball even if it's like 3 yards per carry. But I guess like
yeah,
the yardage plays kind of scare me. But carries, like if you can get carries, I don't know if they have that for Kenny McIntosh, but I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if it's like a 15 carry game, something like that.
yeah. They're not giving carries in this one. Probably because of that exact reason. And it looks like so I have the UGA stats for the season pulled up. Kenny McIntosh, Dejan Edwards, their attempts are basically the same. It's 142 to 135. And then the yardage is basically the same too, 779 to 739.
Yeah,
They both average 5.5 yards a carry. So like I saw that I think I read TCU's like 62nd rated against the run. Um and given the game script here, I think I'm gonna try to take one of the two for their yardage totals. Um, but I'm just trying to figure out who. You also can take rushing yard ranges, which is kind of risky and fun. But like you could do Kenny McIntosh 51 to 75 yards at plus 220, 76 to 100 yards at plus 279. And then you can use like their existing um, over under props to kind of guide that. So like Kenny McIntosh is set at 66 and a half. I would say 76 to 100 is where the value's at. And then you're getting that at plus 279, which that feels like pretty good value on that. Um,
yeah,
so I might play one of those just to have some more exposure to Georgia in different ways. I also already did play, like I said, McConkey. I tailed you on the over there on his receiving yards. I also did Stetson Bennett over 20 and a half pass completions, um, which feels light. Like if you look at Stetson Benny's game log. Pulling it up now. He's averaging so he had 23 completions against Ohio State, 23 against LSU. So if you just like look at these big games, he's putting up way over 20. It's the games where they're just absolutely fucking on teams where he kind of stops. Like South Carolina, they beat them 48-7. He only had 16. Florida, they beat them 42-20. He only had 19. Tennessee, he only had 17, but I think they just controlled the clock a lot of that game. And then UK and GT, it looks like he didn't even really do much either of those games,
Yeah.
and missed the prop in those ones. But in all of the other like big games, he's clearing this with margin. So I like 20.5.
Yeah, I think I like that too. I mean, that's just the biggest mismatch in this game. And like Georgia isn't really an explosive passing game either, too. So it's not going to be like 20-yard like plays like consistently. Like it's probably going to be just moving the ball consistently. And Stetson should be able to hit that number.
Yep, I agree. And then the last one that I like, but I haven't taken yet, is his under on rushing yards. So I'm not sure if uh ESPN has been calculating this correctly, but I'm going to share my screen real quick.
So sacks, they didn't count sacks in college football. Sacks
They
go to against your yardage.
so that like I mean the prop is under 15, and I mean like he's only gone over 15 4 times this season if they count sacks. So like you get under 15.5 at plus money. I feel like I might take that. Probably not a lot, but I mean like and then kind of the same theory. Like if you look at these big games, in big games, he's not doing that. Like he's not running or he's getting sacked a lot. One of the two. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But it's only in these blowouts where he's putting up, big rushing numbers. So, um, I guess that's liable to happen. But I think I like the under there too.
Yeah, I think I like that. I'll have to look and see, but I was seeing something about how like the type of defense TCU plays, and Georgia's had experience against defenses like that over the last year. So it'd be interesting to see like what Stetson's rushing stats would look like in those games.
Mm,
I'll try to find that offline and we can share that with each other.
yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like a good play to me.
Yeah. I think like the kind of theory there is just this offense, like to your point, is going to run through Stetson. And it's just kind of trying to find ways to get value. Like his yardage prop is way inflated. It's already at 280 now, and that's like higher than what he's averaging. So I'm not comfortable doing that, although
Yeah,
it could hit. So I like completions and I like the under on the rushing yards.
cool.
Yes, sir. Should we talk a little NFL though?
Let's do it, man. It's wild card week.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm gonna miss basically all of these games, at least like watching the full games. I'll probably be able to see bits and pieces because I'll be running around Sonoma, but
Mhm.
you take wins and losses. So um should we just talk them kind of through the slate?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the Niners hosting the Seahawks, who can thank the Lions for getting the chance to play this Niners team that is what won 10 straight, covered is it covered 8 of the last 9 or something.
Yeah, the Niners are red hot. I love the Niners here, man. The Seahawks team has just really regressed in the last few weeks of the season. If you look at like weighted DVOA, which obviously takes into account how teams have been performing later in the season compared to earlier in the season,
Yeah.
which at this point in the year, I prefer to look at weighted compared to just outright DVOA. The
And this
Seahawks
is a
have,
prediction I gave like a couple months ago on the pod when Seattle had the 3rd best offense in DVOA. I said, we'll have to come back closer to average.
yep, and now they are 14th, and 21st on defense, weighted DVOA of 15. So they're just a very run of the mill team. Going up against San Francisco, which is leading the NFL in weighted DVOA. So I think this is a terrible matchup for San Francisco or for Seattle. I think the defense is going to give Geno nightmares. I mean, he was struggling to move the ball against the Rams. who have a very average to below average defense, and now he's playing the best in the NFL. I think Purdy has shown that he can do it. Like he's fine. He's not a problem. He's a game manager. That's all you need when you have Debo and Eli Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey and Kittle. Like the weapons are just so good and consistent and explosive. The offensive line has gotten a little bit healthier. I just don't see how Seattle's going to be competitive in this one at all.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the reason why I want to take Seattle here is just the number. Like, is this too many points? Like, at what point is it too many points for the Niners? Like, I get like how hot they've been. They're almost untouchable at this point. But like, what number is too high? Because this opened at 7.5, and then I mean, I don't think any news came overnight, but it's climbed to 10 already.
Yeah, I mean
Just sitting at 10 now.
we couldn't even get it at our book before 10. I was watching
Yeah.
it like a hawk, and like the first time they had it available was 10, which is a little
Um,
bummer, but
I sent you that one. I think this is kind of a dumb trend, but I guess you could say it means that these teams are getting inflated lines. But it was like since the 2001 NFL playoffs, when a team is on a 10+ game winning streak in the playoffs, their record against the spread is 2-13.
interesting.
Um, but I mean, I guess is the 7.5 like the right number here? Because we saw it when this game was in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and the Niners covered that they won by 8. It was a 3-point spread. Now it's in
Yeah,
San Francisco. 7.5, 8 does seem like the right number, right?
I think 7.5 and 8 is probably right. The reason I'm willing to
Yeah.
lay the 10 is because in the fourth quarter, when it was 21-6, the Seahawks drove, and it was basically garbage time at that point. And they
Well,
got that 10-yard touchdown, and like, sure, like like whatever. It
I
was
think I think things started rougher in that game though, and eventually Seattle's offense started moving the ball, but it was still tough to score. But like yardage wise, like they did a decent job, and points wise, their defense at least helped the Niners. But I mean, I think the Niners just all it took was a couple big plays, and that's really all they needed to win that game.
yeah, I think what's
But it
the
wasn't the most impressive like stretch, or was it the most impressive game for the Niners out of this like stretch they've had?
it was also a short week. It was a
Yeah,
Thursday night game.
on the road.
On
Yeah,
the road. It just feels different to me, man. Like that was kind of like another big game for Seattle too. Like they really needed that one, and they got up for it, which is why I think they like kept it competitive. But even on like I wouldn't even call that a down game. I would say that's an average game for San Francisco and a good game for Seattle. They still needed a garbage time touchdown to get an 8-point loss. So like
yeah.
I agree. I think a fair line here is 7 or 8. Unfortunately, we don't get that. And I want action because I think the ceiling here is like a 20 point win, like 20 21 point win for Seattle
Yeah.
or for San
Yeah.
Francisco. Sorry.
So where do you see this ending for the Niners then?
Ending, like where does
Yeah.
this line close?
No, like the season for them. Like they win this game.
Well, thank you.
You like them next week too.
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out is um okay, so like let's take a look at the bracket here. I also have this pulled up. Um so
so they would host the lowest
they host
or
no
the
Philly.
highest remaining seed. Yeah.
Yeah,
If they
yeah.
win.
So I think Tampa gets out of here. I know that's a controversial one, so we'll talk about that. But I think most likely they're gonna end up playing the Vikings. Um so that's a dub. Like they'll beat the Vikings. I would put money on that. So then I think I mean it's chalky, but I see it's either going to be San Francisco and Tampa or San Francisco and Philly. Um, and I don't know how to grade that one.
All right. So, yeah. So Niners at Philly. What's your spread there?
I mean, it's really going to depend on how the next two games look, right? Like, I think that makes a big difference for how they make that line. But I probably make that like San Francisco 2.5 point underdog.
Yeah, I was thinking like 3.
Yeah,
So you're going to take the Niners to win the NFC then? Because I mean, that's a ticket you'd like to have if it's a 3-point dog in the NFC Championship game, right? Or they're at home hosting the Bucks, which then you would love to have like a plus money tick on the Niners to win the NFC, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of want that ticket regardless. I took them to win the Super Bowl when they were plus 1100. So
Don't need to
uh,
add.
what's that?
You don't need to add, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, I don't really need a whole lot more exposure just because the number that I got it at is so long. Um, I think I may have also taken, let's see, conference futures. Nope, I did not take them when they were long. So yeah, I just don't know, man. This one, it's I'm very confident Seattle gets through. Um, I just don't know after. I mean, like, how are you thinking about this? So you think the 10 is too many points?
I think so. I mean, I think the Niners should be able to win this game, but like it's a rookie quarterback, only his still like his fifth start now. I don't know. I just don't think like this team can just keep cruising to like double digit wins into like the NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl. Like they should be able to beat the Seahawks. But like it shouldn't be out of the question that Seattle can win this game. Because it wasn't like that crazy to think of it. They would have won that game a couple weeks ago at home. Still a divisional game. Um, and it's inflated line. I mean, so I think that's why I like the Niners and the parlay, just because like they definitely should win this game. But like at minus 475, it's a little crazy that number.
I think it's because the books don't want people to be taking it. Like that's why they're setting it so long. Is they're like the books are very confident that San Francisco gets through this one, and they just don't want to be paying out money on a line where they are on a team that they know is going to win.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess where do you think this line settles? Because I'm tempted to take the 10.
Yeah, I already took the 10.
I think the only reason why I would be taking the 10 though, not because I think like, I don't know, I would like to get 10 and a half. Maybe I should wait for that. But I would just think this line probably, instead of getting bigger, just what we've seen in the past, right, is lines usually come back to what the open was if there was no news. Like an inflated line will you just come back to its true line. So I
mhm.
would think that it would come back to the 8, even if the books are exposed, just because that's what the true line is. But
I don't
um,
think so, man. I just think I bet public comes in on San Francisco and drives that up to 10 and a half, 11. I bet it sits around there. If it comes to 8, it comes back to 8. I'll be hammering that.
all right, I will wait. I'll wait till at least it's Thursday then.
Yeah. Yeah. I doubt it drops below the 10. I think there's probably some value in taking the 10. If I were you, I'd probably do, I mean, if you want to be on Seattle or sorry, San Francisco, I would go ahead and maybe do half a unit at the 10, see where it nets out. And then if you still want to get in, take advantage of any line movement if it gets tighter. And then if it gets wider, just don't play it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably be a wait and see for me.
So
But I think my lean is Seattle there.
nice. Um, Next one up on the slate for Saturday is Chargers and Jags. This line has been bouncing around a ton. When it first opened on our book, it was minus 1.5 for Los Angeles as a favorite. I went ahead and hopped in on it then just because I didn't want to miss it. Um, and then it ballooned to 2.5. I maybe even 3. I don't know. I don't know if I saw any threes. But now it's a pick on our book again. So I got back in on this. Um, this lines up perfectly with kind of what I'm thinking about this Chargers team. They've been really solid in the back half of the season. Defensively, their passing defense has started to turn it back around. From a weighted DVOA perspective, they're still sitting at like 16th. Um,
It's because
so
their offense, right? It's kind of dragging it down.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's like 19th offensive DVOA versus
Yeah.
16th on the defense. Um, to me, this is going to come down to I don't really believe in Jacksonville. Um, I think the offense, what Jacksonville does well offensively is pass it. And I think that's going to play right into the strength of the Chargers. And I just trust the Chargers offense to get this done. I honestly think it's probably a little bit better than how it's currently being rated. And I think their pass defense is staunch enough to slow down Trevor Lawrence, who's been struggling.
I mean, the Jags have kind of been playing their best football, like as of late too, right? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't really been struggling. The Titans game is a little bit tough, but like in
He
the
did.
last month, he's played a couple of his best games of his career. The Titans game, the first one, that was his best game of his career.
Um, let me see. I thought he struggled a little bit against the Jets. Um,
Yeah, I think they came out slow. But I mean, so I took the Jags at the plus 2.5, just because the line movement. Like I kind of thought or saw that like this would be coming down. But I think I like it. I mean, I feel like it's also Brandon Staley, like just a perennial like 500 coach in his first playoff game versus a guy who's 4-1 in the playoffs and has won a Super Bowl.
yeah.
And just kind of wins these games. Like I guess there's a coaching mismatch there. But I mean the Chargers too, like so I took the future with you there. But I guess now I'm already betting against it. I think it's just
I mean, if anything, you like, I think your side, if you have the future, like being on your side in this game makes more sense. Do you know what I mean? Because you're essentially hedging the future. And
yeah,
like there's a chance that like the future continues to stay alive and you make your money. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
this
with the two and
does,
a half.
yeah. So I like as I placed the 1.5, I was like, man, like I wish I wouldn't have done that, knowing now I've seen that it has moved to a pick 'em because I would have preferred to wait, grab the pick 'em, and then have taken the points with the Jags because then I have a chance at middling everything.
Yeah. Um, and I guess we don't know injury news, but it seems like they said Mike Will like wasn't able to like he was limping leaving the stadium after getting hurt. Uh
Dude, what was
like in a
that?
I have no idea. And like I think Bosa's hurt too, but I think they said his wasn't as bad. But I mean, like the Chargers like receiving core is kind of weak already. Like Keenan Allen like just isn't the same player as he was before. Like Mike Williams can't play. Like I think that's a huge loss there. For a passing game that just like I think they have like the lowest like depth of target out of any team in the league by far, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy when you have Justin Herbert. So I get like the Jags passing defense is like their weakness, but you'd expect the Chargers to be able to take advantage of that, but over the last 2 years, that's just not been the team that they are.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm very confident in Herbert. Eckler has been great. Gerald Everett is like a fine tight end option. Like he's good. Their backup receivers are fine. Like that DeAndre Carter guy. They have another one that maybe he's hurt or something. I don't even know. And then Keenan Allen is like he's definitely not like playing at the level that we've seen him play in years past, but um he was getting it done yesterday against a Broncos secondary that was still trying for the most part.
You
Um,
think?
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I feel fine. This Jacksonville team just doesn't intimidate me. It reminds me a lot of the Seattle team. In that like great start to the season. I think you called regression on both of them. Honestly, I think this Jags team shouldn't even be here. Like honestly, like if Josh Dobbs isn't out there, if Ryan Tannehill is out there, like this is uh Titans versus Chargers in Tennessee. So
Yeah, but I mean, like that doesn't play an effect into this game. Like you ignore that. Like it was a tough like game for Trevor Lawrence, but I mean the Jaguars are a little bit different in Seattle too, because like the Jaguars almost had the middle of the season where like it just wasn't going right, but they've been hot the last month.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, um, but yeah, I know like they've been basically playing playoff games, I guess, for the last month too. But Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he did struggle against Titans division opponent, but I guess the Chargers pass defense has been better as of late. But I expect him to look better than he did last week.
For sure.
And I guess like statistically, like DVOA wise too, like they do have Jacksonville as the better team at home, and just they're getting points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one is so weird for me. I I'm just gonna rock with the Chargers. I think I like them to get it done here, but it also wouldn't surprise me one single bit if the Jaguars were able to get this one done. Um,
Yeah, and Brandon Staley guarantee he's going to embarrass us
yeah, he'll do
at one
something.
point.
He'll do something
Yeah.
stupid for sure. Um, but yeah, so that's that one. The next one up, Dolphins Bills. Um, so I think this one opened at 10. maybe 10 and a half. I grabbed it at 10 and a half. Bills are still 10 and a half point favorites. I love it. I think they're gonna steamroll the Dolphins here. Third time meeting them. Um, the first matchup was week 2 or 3. That was that game where it was really hot in Miami and everyone was cramping. And the second matchup was the snow game when we were in Vegas. Uh,
Yeah,
so both those games had Tua. I don't think Tua is playing in this one. I don't know for sure, but I sort of doubt it. Um,
yeah. There might be a chance that we got Teddy, but I mean, it's just up in the air. That's why this number is at 10.
and honestly, man, I don't know how much of a difference there is between Teddy and Skyler. Um, I almost rather have Skyler to some extent.
Yeah, I know. So the Dolphins, it was like almost an embarrassing game what they had against the Jets, but the Jets defense, like, dude, honestly, as of late, like the Jets defense has probably been playing better, and we're able to like create probably more problems for the Dolphins offense, and I think the Bills can. Like at the end of the day, like the Bills defense is still performing well, but it's banged up. It's just not healthy, but it's still kind of been performing. Maybe that's just been schedule wise, but and I guess like offensively too for the Bills, like they're not playing perfect ball. They're still making mistakes. And I guess the only reason why you would take the Dolphins here, you say, is this too many points, and the Dolphins or the Bills haven't been able to cover big spreads like this all year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also uh, like if you look at it and say like, well, the Dolphins covered like this line, or they covered against the spread against the Bills in both matchups. I mean, that's not really telling the full story because I think um, what the Bills had it basically the chance to win the first matchup, and they probably should have covered when they had the ball like double possession time. And the same thing for the last game where I think the Bills like need the ball at the 1 yard line when they could have like snuck it in to cover the spread.
Yeah,
Like the Bills probably should have covered the last one, and definitely, or probably should have won the first one too. So I think like the past results for these two teams this season is kind of deceiving. Um,
agreed. I also
but I think
think,
that's really the only argument. Just too many points for Bills team that just hasn't been able to cover. I mean, like this Patriots game, they only won that game because they had 2 kick returns for a touchdown. Other than that, it was a 12-point game.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. They have, I
I
guess,
mean, they probably put up points elsewhere too, like with those drives. Like, I mean, the Patriots' pass defense is kind of getting worked, but
that's the thing, man, is like that's a Pats passing defense that is far better than this Dolphins pass defense. And I think they're really gonna exploit that.
But as
Um,
of late, I mean, the Patriots' pass defense was so banged up. Like, I think they're missing like
yeah,
Jack Jones, Marcus Jones, all those Joneses, and
yeah, all the
the
trio of
Jones.
Joneses in
Yeah,
the secondary. Um, yeah, and I mean, definitely, I agree. Like, there are things that are concerning. Like, Josh Allen has been making mistakes in the red zone still, um,
but they're
and
winning.
they're winning games.
But yeah, and like, this is what the Bills, I guess, were waiting for. Just get to the playoffs. So
Yeah, I just feel
yeah,
like the Bills are really gonna. You know what this reminds me of is last year the Eagles Bucks game, in the same spot where it was like I think the Eagles were like 10 and a half, 11 point underdogs, maybe even longer, maybe 12. And I was like, man, Eagles have been okay. Like they have this like first year head coach who I kind of think is okay. The offense has been not bad. Like Jalen Hurts, okay. Like defense has some questions. It's like it's almost like exactly the same. But then it's like, nah, the juggernaut is gonna come in and take care of business. And I don't know if you remember that game, but the Bucks just
yeah,
dismantled them.
yeah.
And that's how I feel this is gonna go. It's like lots of questions, like, an offense that looks like it could be kind of turning things around in Miami. I just think they're gonna get throttled.
Yeah. So how about if I waited for Bills first half at under a touchdown? Understanding that if they don't cover the first half by a touchdown, then I should be able to get the Bills at a better number.
Wait, so you're saying you want to play it live or you want to play it now?
Just first half Bills minus. I think like right now, well, Bet Online doesn't show it, but like
It's probably like
Action is
6.
showing. Other books have -6.5. Yeah, which I don't
Yeah,
hate. Because if they don't cover that, then I can at least probably get Bills -7.5, -8 at most for the rest of the
for
game.
sure. For sure. I like that a lot. I think that's a great strategy. Yeah, once that's available, I'll probably tail it too because I want a little bit more exposure here. I already took the 10 and a half, but I want some more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um, this next one, I
This
have
one
no
is
clue.
haunting my dreams, man. I have
Yeah,
no idea what to do here. This is Giants Vikings. Um, so these teams played just 2 weeks ago and needed a 61-yard field goal for the Vikings to win the game.
yeah.
And still not cover, right?
No, it was like a 4.5 point spread. I think I took Vikings first half -3, and that was a push, and then I took live -3, and that was a push. But
Yeah.
I think so in this game, and I guess the Packers game the following week too. Like my analysis is there, like for those games, is just like, yeah, you're gonna look at the stats and they're gonna show that I guess DVOA now has the Vikings as like the 28th best team or whatever.
Holy
Um,
shit.
yeah, or weighted DVOA 28th, which sure, I
God
guess you can believe
damn.
that if you want. But like so statistically, it's going to say the Giants are the better offense, better defense. Um, it's just the Vikings for some reason they pull games out. But I guess this is the type of team that the Vikings have beaten all year. And they only have to cover 3, but I'm still too scared to take it because it seems like this is when it falls apart. So I think the Vikings are now on their third string center, who got his first start against the Bears, and I think looked okay. Starting a backup right tackle now. So like makeshift offensive line with only one receiver who can get separation. I don't know, it's going to be tough. And I think just the Giants offense too, like looked pretty good against the Vikings a couple of weeks ago. It was really just like stupid mistakes. I think they had a couple turnovers in opposing territory, and just like some drops that kind of were basically the game. Like the reason why the Giants had to settle for a couple field goals instead of touchdowns. Be off the
Yeah.
side here, so take the Giants, but I don't know.
The
We talked about this like for the playoffs, right? Just trying to follow what we've seen this season, and we faded the Vikings all year, and I think we got to continue it here.
yeah. My only play that I feel fairly confident about, and this was a play I wanted to take in week 16 when these two teams played, but ended up not touching it, was the over. Over 48 and a half was the week 16 line. And that cashed with some room for uh just some margin. And now it's 48 this week. And I don't quite why you don't have the hook, but I don't see this game profiling any different. Like
My
27
only
20.
fear there is the Vikings O line. Like that could be a problem where like the Vikings struggle to put up points. Period.
I mean, if you think that is like within a realistic range of outcomes, then you should hammer the 3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think so I also like the Giants team total over though, just because like the Giants I think their team total over right now is like 22 and a half, 23. They got 24 last time, despite all their struggles in Vikings territory, like and like a poor third down conversion rate. I think if their offense just, plays as they did last week or as they did in the first matchup and as everyone has done against like the 32nd best passing defense in the league, they should put up at least another 24 points in this game. But
Yeah.
I do have a real fear of the Vikings offensive line and the Giants, who are like top 5 in pressure rate and number 1 like in blitz rate. I think things have the potential to get ugly there.
Yeah, I like that Giants team total over. Because one thing we have seen with the Giants this year is they will keep trying. And like on offense, like they will keep it going until the very end of the game. And I think Dable is going to have this team coached up and ready. I also just placed a coach of the year ticket for Dable.
Yeah, what are those odds right now?
I got him at plus 450.
Really? Now?
Which yeah, it was before week 18, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
Damn, I want to hop in on that.
Yeah, it felt way too long. Let's
Um,
see. Is it
but
still available?
I saw for the Vikings Giants game in the first matchup too, like I think the Vikings like run defense is just closer to average compared to our pass defense. The Giants just like, all right, like Saquon Barkley, you're a receiver today. Like I think he had 1 carry in like the first like 3 or 4 drives or whatever. And he had like 8 targets or whatever. I imagine he's going to be used a lot in the passing game again.
Yeah. You know, one
But
thing,
he did come to live at the end. So he finished with 14 carries and 8 receptions.
um, Yeah. And I mean, he'll get going eventually. What they like to do, I noticed, I've watched a good amount of Giants offense this year just because I had Saquon in fantasy, is like they'll kind of like let him ease into things. And if he's not like just taking the game over in the first two or three quarters, they'll wait and then they just give him the ball a ton in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Take some of the pressure off Daniel Jones. And the last few weeks of the season, they used him a little bit more sparingly, I think, knowing that they were going to get a playoff berth or like into contention for a playoff berth. But I bet now, like once his props come out, I'm going to start to hammer some Saquon props
Yeah.
because I think they're going to really lean on him in the playoffs.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
really like those receiving props.
yeah, I think that's a great call. So let's do a quick little just like thought experiment now that because I think we've covered all of the games, the NFC games, except for Cowboys Bucks. But if we look at this
Yeah.
guy, his playoff bracket again.
Assuming that like the 6th seed is going to take the win.
Yeah, like let's just out of shits and giggles. So like, let's say San Francisco gets through, they'll play here. Let's say the 6th seed gets through, they'll play Philly. And like let's leave this side of the bracket alone. Philly and New York, man. Do you think there's any chance the Giants are live in that one as an underdog?
I don't know. I mean, so the Vikings and the Giants are, I guess, according to DVOA, the 2 worst playoff teams, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah, for sure.
Um, I
It's
don't know,
great.
man. I mean, like, there's going to be a spread for it, right? And there's going to be odds. So I guess probability wise, you say Philly has what, like a 65% chance, 70% chance to win that game.
Probably
It's
70.
just
Yeah.
hard to me to like imagine any team besides the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Niners winning the NFC. But upsets
Yeah.
happen.
It's football though, man.
Yeah, and we know
um,
that like the best teams in the league this year are just not that good in comparison to like prior years.
yeah.
A lot
I
of
mean,
mediocrity.
we watched Philly absolutely smoke the Giants. They beat them 22-48 in that like second week in December. Um,
And
that was a
in
7 point
yesterday's
spread.
game, it was Davis Webb or whatever as quarterback. So I guess
Yeah. I mean, they rested
sure.
basically all of their starters.
Yeah.
They had nothing to play for, so I don't think that was an accurate representation of this team.
Yeah.
But I guess where I'm trying to go with this is like if I'm looking at this bracket, um, New York gets through, they play Philly. Like there's a chance New York could play, like Tampa in the NFC Championship game.
Is there a chance? I mean, I get there is a chance, of course, that the Giants can beat the Eagles, but it's going to be a double-digit spread, right? It's going to be like this Bills game. It's going to be like this Niners Seahawks game.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I'm kind of interested in maybe a Giants a Giants NFC championship ticket. Just because I think the odds on it are just long as hell. And it just gives you
Yeah.
lots of opportunity to hedge along the way. Take some more confident in taking some favorites. I mean, to win the NFC, they're plus 2,800, against teams that like we're all talking about having questions about. Like you were just talking about questioning San Francisco. I have questions about Dallas. I think we both have questions about Tampa. The Eagles quarterback is hurt. So like I don't know. I'm just saying I think there might be some value on this team that like uh has probably one of the easier matchups in the first round.
Yeah. So it's just that Eagles game. But I mean, there is an angle there for like taking at least the Giants to cover. And I guess you can let the coaching staff figure out how they're going to win that game. But it's going to be like attacking the Eagles. Like the only weakness in their defense is, I mean, I guess they're about average there. It's just a rushing defense versus Saquon.
Yeah.
And even in the game last week, I think they saw like whoever. I had no idea who the Giants running back was. I've never seen that name in my life. It was Gary Brightwell.
Yeah,
He
Gary
averaged
Brightwell.
5.5 yards per carry. Matt Breida averaged 7 yards per carry.
Daniel Jones is probably one of their best running threats.
Yeah. Um, but the Eagles have, of course, like the best secondary in the league. Receivers, when the Giants have no receivers, have like the lowest production whenever they play the Eagles.
And the Giants defense is god awful.
Yeah.
Which is just like not what you want when you're playing against one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a long shot. I mean, you're getting plus 2,800 for a reason. I guess I'm just thinking like if we've talked about all these NFC matchups and we have questions about most of the favorites and all of them, then like feels like an opportunity to take a shot on a dog and try to stride it. Especially if we do think that they're very live in this first matchup, you know?
Fuck it, I'm with you. Let's do it.
I
Giants
mean,
plus 2,800 to win the NFC.
yeah, it's just gonna be a sprinkle
Yeah.
for me. Like I'm talking like a tenth of a unit. Because you don't need a lot to like make this profitable, you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I have I have my Eagles Super Bowl future, of course. That's all I have for the NFC right now.
yeah,
So
I
maybe
have,
just go Eagles, Giants.
yeah.
So I really want to do the Cowboys, but I think with this number, they're telling you like, don't bother. Plus 650
Is that what they're at to win the conference?
NFC right now. Yeah.
There's some good value on. I mean, plus 650. That's not bad.
I guess maybe it's just like the perception with Dak right now and how much he struggled over the last couple of weeks. But
So what I'm trying to figure out is I have conference futures on Tampa and Minnesota plus 1,000 plus 1,100. Um, I just sprinkled New York at plus 2,800. So I don't quite know what else to do here. Um, but I also have the Niners Super Bowl ticket, which that's plus 1,100. So we'll see. I might take some time here to keep thinking through that. Should we keep pressing on?
yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the next game that we have to wrap up Saturday or Sunday night, Ravens Bengals. This one opened as Bengals 5.5 point favorites. Um, it's now moved to 6.5. My guess for this is that money is going to be coming in on the Bengals. Yeah, I'm just looking at the VSIN report. 92% of the handle, 86% of the bets. It's early, but that's remarkable. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thought here is Lamar is going to play or Tyler Huntley is going to play, and that's a significant upgrade over Anthony Brown, which I don't know if I agree with. Given that this game just happened yesterday and there was what 12, 11 point favorites for the Bengals. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I already hopped in. I almost hopped in at the 5.5, but I dilly dallied, and I got at the 6. It's a 2 unit play for me. I like the Cowboys here. Or sorry, the Bengals.
Yeah. So I mean the Ravens, they rested a lot more players and I think just like it wasn't just quarterback. I think Dobbins didn't play on defense too. They arrested guys. It was that's the reason why this line I think initially opened at like 7, understanding that Lamar was out and it blew into 11, just that the Ravens were not playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
They were just going to get ready for this next matchup. But yeah, so this line is too small if Lamar doesn't play, and it's too big if he does play.
Yep. Yeah.
It seems like the Ravens said they're hoping he plays, which of course, like everyone's hoping he plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one knows. Of course, I think my if Lamar plays, like my lean is to take the Ravens on the money line too.
Really.
Like statistically, these teams are a lot closer than like a 6.5 point spread. But if Lamar plays, like I wouldn't be surprised if this comes down to even like 3 or something. Um,
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about the Ravens. It's just been a team that's been up and down kind of all season. Um,
yeah,
we've seen some weird coaching stuff early in the season by Harbaugh, like some clock management and just game decisions that were odd when Lamar was playing early in the season.
yeah, blowing
Uh,
those leads.
we've seen them
Like there's just
blow massive leads. The Bengals at home have just been fire. The Bengals of late have just been fire. The offense is electric, and the defense still is a top 10 unit in the NFL. So, I'm I also don't like how one dimensional the Ravens offense is. I think that makes it really easy to scheme against because they're going to run the ball and then they're going to take a couple deep shots. But like,
But
I
when Lamar was healthy, they were like one of the best passing offenses in the league. And then he got hurt, and they had to pivot to one of the best rushing offenses in the league. Uh, I mean, I think the biggest thing is Lamar's health, right? Because if Lamar is healthy, like, aren't they basically just running the 2019 Ravens offense finally? Like what they were hoping to do last year, but the rushing game had struggled for almost 2 years. Like it's finally finally have that rushing game that can help Lamar. And if he can come in and like play quarterback, you don't need him to be 100% health and like being like the face of that rushing attack.
Yeah,
But if
I
he can at
guess
least provide them better quarterback play, like they can win this game.
definitely. I mean, if Lamar plays, I just have questions though. I mean, like Lamar he hasn't even practiced for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot. I mean, it's not like he's been limited and they've just been like holding him out because they're like, yeah, we know we're gonna make the playoffs. It's like this dude hasn't even been on the field, like taking reps. Like, and now all of a sudden he's gonna play. Like,
So why isn't this line over a touchdown then? Because that's what we saw last week.
I don't know. I think it's because the uncertainty with Lamar. Um, I think Vegas is just keeping it in this kind of weird spot right now until we figure out who's going to be at quarterback. My guess is Lamar plays. I think Lamar's a competitive dude, and I think he's going to want to be out there. How effective he is, I don't know. And that's the confusion with these practice reports. Like maybe they're playing like a game of cards where they're like just trying to keep this Lamar card close to their chest, and like they really know that he actually is okay and he's ready to go, and like or like he's in bad shape and like he's not going to be super effective if he plays. And given how he plays, I would err on the latter side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again,
It'll
if
be
this were like if you were playing like the Jags defense or like the Chargers defense, I'd be like, okay. But Cincinnati's been pretty staunch over the last couple of this entire season, even dating back to last season, as we talked about before.
yeah.
So yeah, man. And also like just looking at quick stats, like this season, Ravens are 19th in points per game. They're second in rushing yards per game, obviously fantastic, but 30th in passing yards per game. Um, whereas Cincinnati, um, they're sixth in the league in opponent points per game. So like they kind of get it done. Um, I think they're stronger against the pass and the run, which is a little bit of a mismatch. But you know, I'm still not concerned about this team.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So I mean, so I have my lean, of course, is if Lamar plays the Ravens, if not the Bengals. But at that point, the number would just be over touchdown. I probably wouldn't jump on it there. Maybe I'd look at like Bengals first half instead.
Yeah,
But what I do want to take is if Lamar isn't playing, I want to take the Bengals to win the AFC. Um, just because like in my opinion, like I think there's three contenders in each conference. I think it's the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Eagles in the East or in the NFC. And in the AFC, it's the Bills, Chiefs, and the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the difference between the Bengals and the Bills and the Chiefs is that much. I mean, I think we know
I
that the
agree.
Bengals in an AFC championship game, they're for sure going to be a road team, while the Bills and the Chiefs, they have a chance to be at home or a neutral site. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably the reason why the odds are reflected that way. But I see the Bengals as the most well-rounded team in the AFC. I see they
Agreed.
have experience. And I mean, we both took the Bills in that Bengals game last week, right? That was suspended in Cincinnati. But I don't know. To be honest, the first couple of drives, it looked like the Bengals had a chance or probably should have won that game. I don't know. It was super early, but the offense is moving the ball and they slowed Josh down a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I like the value there. Cincinnati, or honestly, just to win the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, I took I took Cincinnati, and this is stupid. I only put 3/10 of a unit on it. But the Bengals to win the Super Bowl at plus 2,000. So
Damn, when
I
was that?
um
Like
November
week 6 or
30th.
something? Damn.
Yeah. So I've just been kind of high on this team all year. With the idea that like it's an offensive league in the NFL. You have Burrow, who I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Improved offensive line, which we started to see finally click. All of their weapons are healthy. I guess we'd have to check T. Higgins real quick. I saw he got hurt, but I think he was also right back up shortly after.
Yeah, I feel like that happens to him almost every game.
Yeah, he's down a lot.
Yeah.
So I like their weapons, and then the defense is good. And to your point, I think it's one of the most well-rounded teams. I think I would have made the argument that was the Bills earlier in the season, but the Bills just don't run the ball well. And have looked questionable on defense at times. So yeah, I'm with you. I think so. Looking at conference futures numbers, you can get Cincinnati at plus 425, and I'm probably gonna hop in on that. I probably make this like 350.
Mhm.
So yeah. I think I'm happy to get in on Cincinnati. And then if we go back to our handy dandy playoff bracket, which we haven't even really looked on the left side too much. So as the 3 seed, let's say they get through. Let's say Buffalo gets through. So Buffalo and Cincy will play each other again. I like Buffalo to be or Cincinnati to be very live there. I think that's a bad matchup for Buffalo. Kansas City will beat whoever they play, Jacksonville or LA, most likely. Even though the Chargers have given them trouble in the regular season, kept it close. And then yeah, you get the Bengals playing either rematch of last year or actually no, because did they play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship last year?
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that was divisional. That was or the Bengals Chiefs, right? Bengals Chiefs.
Bengals Chiefs was divisional or was that conference?
AFC Championship.
Yeah, it was the AFC Championship.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we could get that rematch again. And I at that point, like I would be happy to figure out who to bet then. But at that point, the conference future at plus 450 is going to have a ton of value. So I'm going to go ahead and play
Yeah,
that.
I'm with you there. Well, I guess I'm gonna wait. It depends on Lamar Jackson. If he's playing though, I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. You think he's that much of a difference maker
Over,
for them?
over Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. I mean, that's just like my whole thinking is like if you can just fix that passing game and finally have a good rushing attack against a Cincy defense that is good on rushing and passing, but it's not elite by any means. Um, and a divisional opponent that they just rested last week, understanding that this is going to be the matchup already, they'll be prepared. And a Ravens defense that has been playing their best ball this season over the last couple of months.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, it's valid. Um, all right. And then the last one to round out our wild card preview is the Cowboys and Buccaneers, which is similar to the Vikings game, another one that's been haunting my dreams. I have no idea what to make of this. It's at plus 2.5 right now. You can get that at plus 102. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts, man?
So this is the script writers versus the better team, better
Yeah.
coaching staff, uh, better team on both sides of the ball.
You think McCarthy is a better coach than Todd Bowles?
Absolutely, dude. I have no confidence in Todd Bowles. Like
Why?
that deep.
What
I mean, first of all, the offense just like it has the same flaws as like Arians' offense, but no explosiveness. I think that's definitely like a fault on
That's not
Todd Bowles. Like,
necessarily true though, man. That the explosiveness factor is starting to change. We saw that against Carolina after their offensive line is getting healthy. The offensive line was a fucking revolving door in the first half of the season, dude. And now that they've started to get their offensive starters back, Brady's getting more time to throw.
it's still the same starters from like the beginning of the year, right? Like we had like the Bucks had the injuries that were going to affect them all season. They're still missing. But they had a retirement, and then they had
They had
who
one
else
guy
got hurt?
leave and they had their retirement. Ryan Jansen and Ollie Marpet. Um,
Yeah, and I think the offensive line got worse throughout the year, but it was never going to be good.
I don't know if I agree. I don't know if it's I think the injuries were so substantial though that it made a significant difference. Um like they were missing Donovan Smith. They're missing their two starting tackles. Like that's gonna impact the way you play significantly. And now they have Donovan Smith back and Tristan Wirfs. And like that first game that we saw those two back, Brady just hit a bunch of deep balls against what was a decent secondary. And that's
Yeah,
the Cowboys' weakness right now, dude. Like fucking Sam Howell yesterday was hitting deep balls on the Cowboys.
yeah. I don't know what was going on with the Cowboys last week, but I don't know. I'm also going to treat week 18 just like it's a week 1 game where it's just weird shit happen. I know Dak looked terrible. The Cowboys defense looked pretty bad. I don't know. I think move on. They knew I guess pretty early on that the Eagles are beating up on the Giants and they're going to go on the road and play this game. It's a rematch of week 1. Rematch of last year's week 1. This team has beat you back to back. but really the Cowboys are the better team.
I agree.
I think according to DVOA on offense, on defense, and I really do think the coaching staff too, offense coordinator, defense coordinator. I expect the Bucks to play exactly how they have all year, which is, I mean, struggle. It's going to be early down runs, put Brady in bad situations on third down, and he's going to want to get the ball out quick because he's old, and the Cowboys are going to be able to get pressure on him. I would not be surprised if Dak struggles here too, but
I don't think he will. I
I think he'll be ready.
my favorite bet for this game so far is the over 45 and a half. I think the Buccaneers offense has picked it up a little bit, but if you look at weighted defensive ratings, DVOA, Tampa has slid to 25th. They've been bad defensively the last few weeks, kind of the whole season, but like specifically the last few weeks. So I think the Bucks kind of let up some points. I bet Dak comes in looking pretty sharp. And then if you look at weighted DVOA, for offense, Dallas has been kind of average the last few weeks. They're
Yeah, I mean,
about
so those
13th.
weighted numbers still include, unfortunately, God, I'm forgetting his name, the one ginger kid.
Cooper Rush.
When, yeah, when back then the Cowboys had like one of the worst offenses in the league, up until what is the end of October. So they've been near top 10 with Dak. I mean, it hasn't been like great though.
Yeah, I mean, in a game where the Titans weren't trying at all, they put up 27 points. They whooped Philly, but Philly was in that weird spot. That was the first week with what's his face? Gardner. Put up a bunch of points on Jacksonville, but lost. Struggled against Houston. Needed 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter against Indianapolis.
They put up points, but I mean, in all those games, Dak has struggled.
Yeah, I mean, Dak turns the ball over, but he also has big plays. So I guess like I like this one to be close. I want the 3 back before I play a side, maybe even 3.5 if I can get it. We were texting last night about this line, and like we talked about, like I think you're right. I could easily see this being a pick 'em, or I could see this being a 3.5 or 4 point game. So I have no idea what to make of this. I'm just gonna wait until it gets 2 or through the field goal, and then I like the over because I think Brady and the offense are being a little bit undervalued. I think Tampa Bay's defense is kind of bad. I think Dak has explosive value, which helps in the over. And I think and that's why I like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just a lot more scared of the Bucks offense to Tom Brady at this point, to be honest. Like, I think I swore like a little bit ago that I'm done betting on a 45-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
And he had the flashes against the Panthers, right? They looked explosive. Mike Evans went crazy. I would just bet on the other games, you know, him looking like how they had in the other games. A sub 20-point performance.
I think one thing you have to look at though is like in terms of who they've played, they've had a pretty tough schedule defensively. Like Carolina's defense wasn't great, but they performed a little bit better to end the season. They played Arizona and they put up 19 points. That's embarrassing. Played Cincy and they were competitive there for a little bit. They played San Francisco and only had a touchdown. Played New Orleans.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Bucks against defenses in the top half of the league, according to DVOA, I don't think they score above 20 points in any of them. And now, like, I mean, Dallas's defense is not as good as they were in the beginning of the season, but it's one of the elite defenses of the league.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm going with the script here. I'm going with the Cowboys can't win a playoff game. 45-year-old Tom Brady is gonna pull out a miracle. I'm just going with that whole thing. That's we talked about this. Preseason even. And I just think it's right on time. So
your script then is going to create a rematch of that Niners Bucks game from a month ago.
Yeah.
Brady going back to San Francisco. How does the script play out there?
We'll have to see, brother. I don't know. That could be where it ends. Or it could just be where they're getting started. Um,
If the Bucks can win this game, then I'm willing to take them. I think against the Niners because fuck it. Like
yeah,
I'm sure you're
honestly,
gonna get a crazy line or whatever. Like get 7.5 or something.
yeah, probably 6.5 is where it opens, and they let the public fuck around with it a little bit. Probably comes down to 6.
Maybe. I mean, they were so bad in that game, but that's
Yeah,
gonna influence the line.
yeah, man, I don't know. It's a wild one, but that's why they call it wild card weekend, baby.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are our picks. To recap quickly, I am on the Niners on the spread. I am on the Chargers to win it because you can get them at a pick 'em. I like the Bills on the spread. I am gonna wait for the Giants to hopefully move through the field goal, and then I'll probably ride with them, sprinkle the money line. I am on the Bengals spread at 6.5. Probably wouldn't touch it any longer than that. If it gets shorter with Lamar playing, I'm going to be hammering that line just as a little PSA because I have a lot of questions on Lamar, and to get more points off the spread with a Lamar that we haven't seen for a month, who hasn't even been on a practice field in a month,
Yeah.
sign me up. And then I'll be on the Bucks if they move through the field goal.
And I will be taking the Niners at hopefully a better number than +10, but if not +10. I got the
Minus 10.
Jags at sorry, the Seahawks at +10.
Oh, you're on the
Um,
Seahawks?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I guess I missed
Just
that.
against the spread. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Jags +2.5. Probably Bills -10.5, but I think I'm just gonna go into the game with Bills minus first half and under a touchdown. I already locked in Cowboys -2.5. I'm about to lock in Giants +3 and a sprinkle on the money line because I locked in that Giants NFC future. And then if Lamar Jackson plays, I'm taking the Ravens. But honestly, if this number goes above a touchdown too, I still might take the Ravens. Just yeah,
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think you're wrong in that. If it goes longer than 7.5, I might buy out.
yeah,
Just because it's at the end of the day, it's a playoff division game. Harbaugh's a great coach. This defense has surged lately with their additions and added health. So yeah, if it goes longer than that, I'll probably hop back into. All right. Well,
nope.
that'll do it for today's episode. Stay tuned. We may have another one before. I'll be traveling over the weekend, so might be hard for me to get in an episode. But if we decide to come back like Thursday or Wednesday or something with any added news and line movement, could be fun.
Yeah, if not, I could do like a graphic with our final wildcard picks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh,
And
did you see the Circa Survivor contest that finished up with week 18? So it's like
no,
one of those Survivor contests where you just pick a winner each week,
each week,
and
yeah,
you have to pick a different winner each week. So there's three
yeah.
people left for a pool of $6 million. Someone had Jags, so they won Saturday night off that touchdown. And then someone had Colts.
Oh shit, that
Yeah, so they lost on
sucks.
that 4th and 20 and that 2-point conversion. They lost $2
Oh
million.
my god.
Yeah, so there's a video on Twitter of the guy like at the sportsbook watching it, and yeah, he looked like he was about to kill himself.
I probably would,
Yeah,
honestly. Holy
yeah,
shit, that's terrible.
yeah. I mean, like he had the chance to win $2 million, but that's one of the scary like moments of gambling where it's like, damn, like the highs and the lows.
I hope he hedged a little bit.
I think they said he tried, but he had like like just like right before kickoff, he tried, and they gave him like a limit of like $1,000 or something.
That's shitty. That's really shitty.
Yeah, and then I think what was the last pick? Oh, the Seahawks, which
Someone had the
almost burned.
Seahawks.
Yeah,
So they split the pot between two people for 6 mil, so 3 mil a piece.
yeah, yeah.
That's nice. We got to do that next year.
Yeah, we could try to get a contest selection in. I know Bet Online, they have a separate one too. Because Circa, you need like a proxy over there to be in Vegas
Oh,
for you. But we
yeah,
can find
yeah.
a contest to do.
Yeah, we should do it. I feel like we might have good luck at that. But yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Go dogs. Let's make some money
Mhm.
tonight. We need an absolute steamroll coming from Georgia. So yeah, that's it, and we'll see you all next week.